Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we will be talking about Section 3-2, the International System of Units. By the end of this section, you should be able to list the metric units of measurement and common prefixes, distinguish between mass and weight and what units are used for each, and convert between the Celsius and the Kelvin temperature scales. At the beginning of the chapter, it talked about why it is important to use units in every measurement. And we know that without units, we can't effectively communicate what our measurements are. 3 feet is much, much different than 3 inches. Or in the metric system, 0 degrees Celsius is very different than 100 degrees Celsius. So when we measure with the International System of Units, that is the revised metric system. It's a formal name. It has some different units. It's based on a few different things. In chemistry, we have 5 base units in the metric system: meters, kilograms, Kelvin, a second for time, and a mole. We'll talk about moles more as we go through the year. So we'll start with the units of length. That starts on page 74 in your textbook. A meter is defined as the basic unit of length, and it can be connected to the following prefixes: kilo, meaning 1,000, so 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer. Centi is 1/100th, which means 100 centimeters is 1 meter. Or milli, as in a millimeter, 1,000 millimeters is 1 meter. So the metric units that are commonly used for length are the meter, the centimeter, and the kilometer. Volume is the next type of measurement that we're talking about. And volume is defined as the space that is occupied by matter. And volume is called a derived unit because it's a calculated unit made by multiplying the length, the height, and the width of an object. Volume is defined, or a liter is defined, by the volume of a 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter cube. If you would have a cube that size and fill it with water, that would equal 1 liter. So a liter is a cubic decimeter. A decimeter is 10 centimeters. A cubic centimeter is 1/1000th of a liter. It's also abbreviated 1 cc. So for those of you going into nursing, you will hear about cc's. That is equal to 1 milliliter. So 1 centimeter cubed equals 1 milliliter. When we talk about what units we use in volume in chemistry, we'll talk mostly about milliliters, cubic centimeters, and liters. In biology, they talk about microliters, especially if you're doing something like DNA analysis, you'll be measuring things in microliters. The equipment used: graduated cylinder, pipettes, and burettes. Mass is the next unit that we'll talk about. We all know that a kilogram is about 2.2 pounds. And in the metric system, mass is based on a kilogram. And 1 kilogram is the basic unit of the mass of 1 liter of water at 4 degrees Celsius. A gram is 1/1000th of a kilogram, or the mass of 1 centimeter cubed of water. So 1 milliliter of water equals a gram. For the metric system, we'll again use a kilogram, a gram. Our balances measure everything in grams. You can also use milligrams. That's how medicine would be measured, and micrograms. Oftentimes the word weight and mass are used interchangeably. In science, weight is a force. It's the pull of gravity on an object, and mass is the amount of matter in an object. They're two very different things. Mass will never change no matter if you're at the top of a mountain or the bottom of an ocean. Weight can vary depending on gravity. Temperature is defined as how hot or how cold an object is. And in the metric system, we have 2 units. One you're pretty familiar with, this degrees Celsius. And there's also a unit that's called a Kelvin. It's not a degree, but we'll talk more about why we use kelvins in a little bit. The Celsius scale is based on the freezing point of boiling in water. We know on the Fahrenheit scale, water freezes at 32 degrees. In the Celsius scale, it freezes at 0 degrees. We know in the Fahrenheit scale, we can boil water at 212, and in the Celsius scale, water boils at 100 degrees. If you take a look at the Kelvin scale, this very last column on the chart, we see that Kelvin is the degrees Celsius plus 273 all the time. So to get Kelvin, take the degrees in Celsius plus 273. So 100 plus 273 is the Kelvin. 100 plus 273 is 373. Energy is the last type of unit that we're going to talk about. Energy is the capacity or the ability to do work or produce heat. In the metric system, the unit that's used to measure energy is the joule. Very often we're familiar with what a calorie is and how much energy a calorie gives us. A calorie is defined in the metric system is the quantity of heat that's needed to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. 1 joule of energy is 0.2390 calories, or 1 calorie is 4.184 joules. At the end of the section in your portfolio packet, you are to write a summary statement that outlines what you understand. Remember what our objectives were for the section. If you don't have a thorough understanding of each of those objectives, please come on in for help, and we will get you back on track. Thank you.